Hello everyone, Peter Newman with you. This week, AHRI Insight, we're talking about Sakura resistance mechanism. It's the work of Dr. Danica Goggin, AHRI researcher and others, and she has described that Sakura resistance, pyroxasulfone resistance in annual ryegrass is GST mediated. Now, when we have a herbicide like Sakura that is tolerated by wheat, there is always the risk that the weeds will copy that resistance mechanism, and that's exactly what happens here. So wheat tolerates Sakura by GSTs, and ryegrass has now evolved to tolerate Sakura by GSTs. How does it work? Well, we have our Sakura molecule. It's taken up by the plant. The resistant plants have elevated levels of GSTs, and they transfer glutathione, which we refer to here as GSH, transfer glutathione onto the Sakura molecule. Now, it's sort of a little bit different to that. It actually snaps the Sakura molecule in half, and the glutathione is bound to half of it and the other half is left on its own. So obviously once the molecule is snapped in half and has this other molecule joined onto it, it's no longer herbicidal, and that explains the resistance mechanism. Now, what we know is that wheat has about 18-fold the level of GST than susceptible ryegrass, so wheat is really quite tolerant of Sakura, whereas our Sakura resistant ryegrass only has about 3 or 4-fold the GST levels. And that is the ryegrass that Roberto Buzzi bred in the lab through recurrent selection. And after quite a few generations of breeding this resistant ryegrass, he found those GST levels plateaued. So perhaps ryegrass has a bit of a limit on the levels of GST and the levels of resistance. So the cool thing about this research is it's helping us understand why mixtures work so well and how to use those mixtures to help us. So if we know that Sakura has GST mediated resistance, if we mix Sakura with trifluralin, which does not have GST resistance, the plant has to have 2 different resistance mechanisms to overcome that mix. Or the other way of thinking about it, if we mix Sakura with another herbicide like trialate or prosulfocarb, which do have GST resistance mechanisms, perhaps that high rate of the mix can overwhelm the plant and overcome that only slightly elevated GST level that we're seeing in ryegrass. So great bit of research. Sakura resistance been found in Australia recent times. Very quickly, our AHRI researchers have understood the resistance mechanism, and this will help us with management in the future. More information, check out AHRI Insight.